If you want to be my friend, you would better go and get a pen. And maybe we could keep in touch like I did in the old days. It wasn't so long ago. I had coffee, Daniel didn't. Oh, sign your pen, pal. Straight whiskey for me, listeners.
We sang that clean.
That may be the best we've ever sounded.
No.
You don't think so?
When we do country, that's when we're our best.
Did we sing along day one? Like the very first episode, were we jamming out, or did we sit there and let it play?
If you had to put money on it, what would you say?
I don't know, because
I
I know
we did. I would say we did.
I know us, but then also because of the first episode, and we were like, oh, what is this, and what are we even doing?
The first episode we did it twice.
Did we?
I feel like it.
God, that does feel right. That feels right.
If I had to put money on it, that's what I would say we did.
And I wish you well.
Look at
nice. That. And I wish you well.
I was a little under, but it still sounded great.
Sounded good to me.
Do you know what that means?
We could make money doing that. We should release an album.
When people go like under it or over it, like sharp, you were a little flat.
Yeah.
Do you know any of that?
No.
Me either.
Oh, you were literally asking, what does that mean? I thought it was like, do you know what that means? And I go,
I think I can tell when somebody's flat.
Okay.
Like if they're like, and I wish you well. But if they're like, and I wish you well. Isn't that flat?
That's flat. That sounds flat.
And then you're like, and I wish you well. That's kind of emo.
A little too hot.
And I wish you well.
And I wish you well. What's Blink-182's version?
I'm sorry. That.
Wait, have we done this before? Oh my God, I'm having a meltdown.
Have we done
this?
Emo.
I know we have done that, but if we specifically sang it as Blink-182, we must have.
I wouldn't know how to.
I don't know. I don't know.
I just forgot.
I don't know, because all I'm thinking now is Whitmer Thomas's bit about singing that song as Blink-182.
And then every time we start to
how
change
satisfying it is to sing like that.
every time we start to change it like this, then I just end up doing
Garth Brooks.
Jumper. I always end up at, and I wish you.
And I wish you would send me a letter, my friend.
That's pretty great.
Not bad. Not bad. I'm not signing any with any labels, but
Could
not
you
bad.
imagine if you did?
That got it. I'd be like, who else is on your label that you were okay with this?
You could start a label.
I don't know.
Hey, do you want to go?
Should we dance?
Yeah, why not? Do we have anything? Well, I mean,
what's the biz?
you don't feel like we haven't given our address in a long time?
Let's give it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you...
Just to do it off the top of your head.
Okay, off the top of my head.
But look to your left when you do it off the top of your head.
Look, that's how I remember stuff. I have to like sort of turn to my left.
Engage.
If you want to send us snail mail, which we are all about, and everyone who has ever sent us stuff since the beginning of this show, you are true angels. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Courtesy of the Pen Pals Podcast, 5419 Hollywood Boulevard, Suite C, number 121, Los Angeles, California, 90027. Now, you don't want a snail mail. You want to email. Go for it. The Pen Pals Pod at gmail.com. Those are the two ways.
Right?
Or you come to Daniel's show. You come to my show, and you hand us a letter in person. Nothing delights us more than when someone does that. It feels good every single time. So feel free to do that if you want to.
You want to go?
Let's go to the letters!
Oh, we're supposed to snap?
I don't know. I've never known. I've never known. And that's the truth. Ooh, I already like this letter a lot.
You want to read it then?
I would like to, yeah.
Okay.
Dear Rory and Daniel, the correct order, in parentheses. That's not coming from me.
It is.
That's coming from a well-educated writer.
It is on the letter.
Okay.
But this person's, like, everyone's allowed to be wrong about something. They chose this.
My wife is a perfect fit for me. We are so compatible that I swear we share thoughts. She's an amazing stepmother to my daughter, and sometimes I think my family is looking forward to seeing her more than me. All that said, she's an absolute nightmare when she's drinking. My only black eyes since high school have come from her. I've endured hours of shrieking verbal abuse through the nights, even while at work hundreds of miles away.
Whoa.
Our last anniversary, I reserved the lounge area of her favorite restaurant, which became the scene of one of her worst moments. I walked out on her, and she chased me out the door and back to our home, where she continued to be awful until she passed out on the floor. I had to lie to my mother saying we might have COVID and couldn't come to Christmas because I was too embarrassed to show my battered face and ruin our family's opinions of her. She's stopped drinking since and is 3 months sober, and I'm proud of her for recognizing what she was doing to our marriage, but I still have a nagging resentment and distrust. She's relapsed several times, and I can't trust that she won't again. We still have wonderful evenings together, living, laughing, and loving. I just want to be open to her and not feel myself slinking away from her affections. What can be done to move through this trauma and learn to trust her again? Are we doomed to an asymmetrical marriage in which I'm closed off and guarded while she is obviously full of love? From the tin can, Major Tom. Man, I'll tell you what.
Can I say something?
We start them heavy. We come at you. We come at you with heavy.
Oh, wow. Now I feel bad about my question.
No, go for it.
You could probably crush that song on karaoke, Major Tom.
Maybe.
Roar.
Major Tom's ground control.
Yeah, see?
I'm
walking through the door. What is wrong with you? And the really most peculiar way today.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
You really made the grade.
And you're floating and I don't know the words.
Can you go to the part where you'll do great?
Well, I don't know the part.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
Wait, you wanted to do it.
No, I want
tried
you to do
lure
it.
me into
No,
doing
I want
it.
you to do that.
You know what?
Come on. I just showed you the way. Give me one.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
You would fucking
Is that all right?
crush. Yes.
No, I wouldn't. That wasn't good.
No, you would crush, and you wouldn't even spill a drop. In my mind, the whole time, you got to drink.
I love that what we just read, and we're like, hold on, we'll get to it.
Well, I told you I felt bad when you were like, we're going to go heavy. And I was like, well, now I feel shitty.
We're going to do a little karaoke first. Major Tom, first and foremost, thanks for sharing this.
Yeah. Appreciate the trust.
Extremely traumatic. You're very trusting to send this to us, and we appreciate it because, as our listeners know, it's not all what's your favorite sandwich. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have a full spectrum of listeners, a wide variety.
Yes.
The complete rainbow.
Yes.
So we get it all.
Right.
We get it all.
Here's my thing.
And we don't shy away from it.
Is this too broad to say?
This one's legit. This is a legit physical abuse.
We are not professionals. So I say that with the question I'm about to ask.
Gotta start there.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it? I'm not saying these things can't be combined.
Okay.
But I feel like there's a difference between someone who is an alcoholic, drinks too much, right? And chemically, they have that thing where they like, oh, I need more, or I drink. Some people drink. Some people drink all the time.
Yep.
Some people like Stephen King, as he admitted and documented in his book On Writing, it wasn't that he drank all the time. It's that when he started drinking, he had to drink all of it.
It's almost like an OCD.
Yes.
Style of alcoholism.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's so many levels to how a person drinks in an unhealthy way.
Yep.
That's one thing.
Yep.
Then the other thing, maybe somebody isn't an alcoholic, but the reason they drink is the problem.
Yeah.
So that they have either trauma or pain or anger or all the above.
Yes.
Or whatever it is, or fear.
Yes.
Right? We know people, artists, and that's well documented through rock and roll and comedy and stuff, and any
Through
type
history.
of art,
Sure.
where they were able to shut down the fear by drinking or using drugs, and then they could like express themselves without this mental censorship.
Yeah.
I think hopefully the big thing to tackle here is it. Then, like I said, they could be combined. It could also be quantity and frequency. But why is your wife drinking? Like, what is it? Like,
yeah.
I've had an alcoholic in my life. Every time this person drank, every time they wanted to fight.
Yeah.
Just every time.
Yeah.
Right?
I think everybody knows a person, whether they're close to them or not. You have seen that version of drinker, and it's wildly different than other people's drinking and other
Yes.
people's drunk when
Yes.
because you've also seen people get wildly drunk and they couldn't cuddle more. They couldn't want to. They couldn't want to like hug you and tell you they love you. And
Right.
I think this is weird to say. I think that's also somewhat dangerous because it's like, hey, I drink, and everyone kind of excuses it because here's this lovey-dovey, cuddly bear.
It is, yeah.
And in a
Fun
way,
drunk, fun drunk.
a fun drink. And in a way, I think they almost come from the same place,
Yes.
just at that fork in the road. One goes this way and one goes that way,
Right.
but they still got to that fork in the road by the same, drinking.
Yeah.
And it tapped into something. And
Because the person he would always say, he would go, I know all you guys hate me, right? And
Right there.
I go,
I mean, right there.
you think that all the time.
Yeah.
That is a constant
you.
gerbil wheel being turned
Yeah.
in your mind all the time. And the drinking like brings it up or down, however you want to look at it, enough for now you to like
You're angry about
it's
it.
anger.
Yeah.
And there's pain and there's fear.
And you're
And so
misinterpreting
you're
things.
drinking to like either consciously or subconsciously give yourself like that valve, like that,
Yeah.
like I get to get this out.
Well, think about like even in sobriety, as a sober person, we're always reading energies and cues and social cues. And it's not that everyone does that, but I think a majority of people, you are reading the room. You are sensing people. And I think there's some people who drink and they think, that look right there, you gave me that look because of blah, blah, blah. And you forget the drinking isn't giving you the superpower to be able to read Daniel's true thoughts.
Right.
It's making you think
yeah.
that's it. Happens with pot too. You can also misinterpret that's why the idea of like paranoia is only there because you start to listen to yourself talk and you're like, oh, I don't think I'm making any sense. And so Daniel now knows I'm high and thinks I'm crazy.
Well, when
and
we
then
first
the
did
next day,
shrooms, you said that to me. You go, it's really we want to be with good people when we do that.
Yeah,
Because you don't
exactly.
want somebody where you're like, are you mad? What are you looking at?
yeah, are you
Like,
mad at me? What's your energy? What's your vibe? It's like,
Yeah.
well, because it intensifies that reading the energies and feeling each other's
Yeah.
presence. You don't want it to be this person you don't know or trust or love because
Right.
then you're like, oh, well, now I'm spiraling out negatively.
Right.
But like even with pot, you can, I might say something and be like, damn, I must sound like such an idiot last night. I was so high. And you're like, oh, I didn't know you were high. And I would be like, oh, I was for sure that you knew
Right.
because of my perception.
And so I think that I have not been in any 12-step programs or even like Al-Anon and stuff like that. But like, I think that part of that is this is a place to come and put your fear or your trauma, your pain, your hurt, your anger, or whatever. And we talk about it so that you don't put it into a glass
Yeah.
or a bottle
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but I think that on the other side of that, for Major Tom, and I assume he hasn't listened to enough episodes because of how he ordered the letter, but I think that on the other side of that,
Or he's listened to all of them and he's aware.
probably not. I think for all of it, like if he had, he probably wouldn't have ended with a musical joke because he knew where that would send us. That tells me right there.
Or he's like, let me lighten it up a little bit. This might be our most educated listener. He's like, Rory should obviously go first, but then also let me lighten it up. This heaviness. Let me steer it into a song with a little reference.
But I think it's, and play our favorite song here. It's going to be some sort of therapy because there's two things that have happened. He's gone through trauma.
Yes.
And then also he is trying to coexist with the person who gave him the trauma.
Yes.
Those are two completely different vehicles on the same road.
Yes.
And you can't, if you're going to try and drive both, you need to be
separately,
go slow
whatever,
and stop a lot.
and separately, whatever trauma that his partner has endured to one, maybe not necessarily that there's trauma that's caused the alcoholism, but trauma that has caused what's
trauma.
happening during the alcohol.
And then
So
you know what else?
That trauma, the trauma that's caused
The
from
thing is too, Roar, when you the old analogy, you throw a rock, right, and it's not where the water goes in, it's like how far it spreads out, right?
Yeah.
The ripples, right?
yeah.
He's also possibly, but I feel sort of safe to assume, he's also dealing with the effect it's having on his other relationships because he says here, I had to lie to my mom.
Yeah.
So now I'm lying to my mom,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like I'm living a false life for what she expects me to be. A lot of people go like, why can't, hope this is changing, but a lot of times in the 90s, it'd be like, why do you have to come out to your parents? Why do you have to like drag them into your sexuality? It's like, Because if I'm not honest with them about who I am and who I love and what I do with my life, I'm lying by omission at every family dinner. So
But also not even
But I'm
that.
just saying he's like, we missed Christmas. Like that
Yeah.
hurts him, and that's affecting another bond and another memory that he's having. It keeps going.
But not even so much lying. It's just that you're blocked from being able to share your life with somebody.
Right.
And in this instance, having to lie and be like, well, we might have COVID, but what you've done is you're missing a huge holiday in people's lives, in their memory of who they are, especially with he has a daughter. And so that matters a lot too. It does seem to me that the daughter is safe from any sort of physical abuse.
It does seem so from the letter.
It does seem like that from the letter, and I hope that is certainly the case. Not to excuse the fact that
can I be dark?
he's enduring
Can I
some
be dark?
Yeah.
If you don't deal with this, right? Your daughter, who's like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, that you would never, is eventually going to be 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go, oh, I could hit you.
Yeah.
You're old enough to take a punch.
Yeah. Or you've said something. You've changed. You're not a kid anymore. Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's true. And also to our listeners, because I think this is something that doesn't come up a lot. But I think sometimes we tend to forget, like, you always see, like, when there's a woman in a violent relationship where it's so easy to go, why don't you just leave? Like, and that's not always like the easiest thing to do. And also, if you're sitting on the side of judgment of wondering why someone doesn't leave, you're probably in a position to not know what that feels like, and you're kind of fortunate in that way to not have to know how hard it is. But I think we rarely see the gender reversal here in a situation like that.
It's almost never reported.
Yeah, and I think that's something to remember, that like it isn't a statement on, well, why doesn't she leave? It's like, and it's also not a statement on, well, why doesn't he leave? Just see here, at least from the fact that these genders are reversed, know that it's something more than just leaving. It isn't. It doesn't matter, man or woman. There's something more than just leaving. You can't just pack your bags and leave. And sometimes that is the right thing to do, but it isn't just this easy thing, a card that you just play and you go, oh, just go do that. Men and women are faced with a very difficult decision in handling physical and verbal abuse like this. So just know that it isn't, I think this is, refreshing is so the wrong word, but it's enlightening. It's so enlightening to remember that more people than you think are faced with this kind of trauma. And that's something to keep in mind when that instinct kicks in for you to go, well, just leave. Just remember.
But look at that first sentence.
Also, men can't just leave.
Look at that very first sentence.
Yeah.
That's why.
She's a perfect fit for me. Yeah.
It's like, you love that person.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not drunk all the time. You don't act like that all the time.
In short of all of this.
And when you leave, you're not leaving the drunk person usually. Yeah. You're leaving the sober person.
Right. Yeah.
And that's very hard.
Yes. Yeah. Who you love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in short, I would say, and it's not that you're sitting here looking for any specific answers. I think obviously she should be in therapy for sure, and I think you should be in therapy, and I think you should both be in couples therapy as well. And I know that sounds like a lot, and it is.
And I think he should go to Al-Anon meetings. I really sincerely mean it.
Sure. And I think at the end of this, at the further down the road in this therapy, you might find that you have you've not only saved this person and yourself, but you've saved this marriage, if it's really something that you want to work at and save. Because I got to be honest, putting myself in Major Tom's shoes, I probably have a very difficult time with the distrust, and I have a very difficult time with the resentment. I mean, I build up stuff like that for far less than what we're reading in this letter. I build up stuff in my head that blocks me, my own issue, that blocks me from immediately forgiving someone or moving on from like some kind of thing. Like, that's just who I am. So now you put me in this position where it's like extreme. It's like, fuck.
And isn't it hard with addiction, because you have your amount of time in, right? You get your chips, and that is amazing. But your goal is to just be sober today.
Yeah.
And so it's like he wants to, as he says here, like, learn to trust her again. But it is really hard when you do feel like a relapse is around the corner. Yeah, you're just on this like eggshell of life.
And already there've been some relapses. So why would you assume there won't be more,
Right.
And then it's true. You're walking on eggshells.
Can I ask
and
you?
you can't get to a place where you feel comfortable and safe with each other.
Can I ask you a super dark question?
Sure, I guess so.
At what
Wait,
point?
no. Okay, wait, go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead. At what point are you like, yeah, I do love you, but I just can't.
Yeah.
You are a perfect fit for me, but I just can't. I just can't.
I think.
And how do you know? And like, when do you know that cup's filled up and you can't take any more water? Like, how do you know?
I would say Major Tom here has played many situations being very compassionate and respectful of another person. But I think at a certain point, to answer your question, I think it comes from at what point do you put yourself first and go, you know what, actually my happiness and my safety
the kid.
and my child have to come before the fact that that my wife is a perfect fit for me. Because given what you've told us in this letter, I would say that maybe as an outsider, that's a misperception, because a perfect fit for you wouldn't do this. That wouldn't have this situation.
Great point, Rory Scovel.
There wouldn't be. I'm not trying to blame on like a relapse.
And
stuff.
we don't
I'm not
actually
saying
mean
it's
perfect.
easy.
Nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect, and I'm not saying it's easy. But perfect for you has to be defined by actually what is perfect for you. It can't be the fact that, oh well, she's this perfect person. A lot of people love her and look forward to seeing her, and my daughter loves her and she has a great relationship with my daughter. That might be a perfect fit for everyone else, because she's not doing this to everyone else. If she's doing it to you, that means it's not a perfect fit for you. Because what I do know, and I'm not saying don't work at this and try to salvage this relationship, but there is someone out there who is going to be great and not do this stuff to you. I'm not saying go look for that person, because maybe you can find that person in your current wife, but having a life full of nagging resentment and distrust and worrying to death that your wife is going to have a relapse and become violent again, either physically or verbally, is no way to live your life. And that doesn't give you the opportunity to present your best person to your daughter.
Right.
And also, you lead by example. You don't want your daughter, and this is something I take very seriously, and I don't mean to offend anybody by saying it, but you don't want your daughter seeing this sort of, in some ways, oh, my stepmother would hit my dad, and so if I marry someone who hits me,
I'm with you.
what
100%.
you do is you put up with it. You know what I mean? And I don't know what the daughter has seen. I also don't know how old the daughter is, but I think there's more things at play here than just going, well, we have fun together when she's sober.
And it all has to do with, like you said, therapy for her, therapy for you, therapy together.
Yeah.
If the child has been involved or witnessing this, therapy for the child.
Yeah.
And if anybody is like, I shouldn't assume this, so I'm going to say it. If anybody's wondering what Al-Anon is, it's for people, survivors of family and loved ones with addiction. And I shouldn't say greatest, one of the best things, in my opinion, about that is that going to those meetings will make you feel so less alone.
Yeah.
That your experience is just on you and you have to figure this out. There are people who are way farther along in their journey than you are in yours, and you'll be like, oh, wow, this can be done. And the last thing I'll say is, when you have pain and betrayal or trust has been broken in a relationship, you and a person working on sobriety, you have an elephant in the room. And the elephant is always in the room.
Yeah.
And the only way, in my personal opinion, unprofessionally, that it works is if you guys are always talking about the elephant.
Yeah.
That you are feeding the elephant together, that you guys sit next to the elephant and you talk about it and you deal with it. If a person is in sobriety and they go, that's my elephant, I deal with the elephant, you don't deal with the elephant, I take care of it, then it's not going to work.
Right.
No person going through sobriety should be angry if you want to talk to them about it.
Right.
If if you're like, hey, how you doing with your sobriety? If they're like, fuck you, bro, then I know the answer. Because usually when they're doing great and you are a person in their life that is directly in relation to that, they have no problem talking to you about the sobriety. So you guys have an elephant in your marriage, and you should constantly be living with it together, talking about it together, open communication. And if those things aren't happening, like if I was getting resistance, dealing with the trauma that's happened, that to me is another issue to go, maybe this fit isn't as perfect as I felt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope this response was helpful in some way.
Yeah.
And I hope to hear back from you and let us know how it goes. And hopefully there's a listener out there that maybe felt some kind of enlightenment as well from this kind of letter, and maybe you are in a space where you're also feeling some sense of verbal or physical abuse. Know that there are ways to get help, and so you should seek that out immediately. Don't wait. Immediately seek out that kind of help. And if you find that maybe you might be this person and you listen to this show, it's very important that you seek help immediately, because you don't know what further down the road can look like, and it can be very scary for everybody. So, Major Tom, we wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Rory Scovel
and Daniel Scovel.
And we're back.
Oh, what's that from?
I don't know.
What was
I don't know,
the
but I
first
was
note?
running out of air.
What was the first note? No, you were different. You go, and what is that from? I mean, it's a note, but I mean, there's a note that starts out like that.
A note to follow, so.
A note to follow, so? Is that what it is?
Is that right?
It is?
Honestly, I didn't know. But now we do. We got confirmation, folks. That's Mikeless Lissa you're listening to on Pen Pals FM.
How many times people wanted him? Noah wanted a mic. Fuck out of here.
You think Chad doesn't want a mic?
Wanted a mic. Boom, out of here. We bring Noah back. Give him another chance at a mic. Boom, no.
Noah ruined his chance to have a permanent mic. To have a call-in number.
We give Lissa a mic. She won't even use it.
Yeah. And that's a slap in the face to Noah, if anyone. You think Chad doesn't want a mic?
Actually,
he'll never have a mic.
He wants a mic.
Chad doesn't want a mic.
No.
He's actually the first. Actually, I don't even know that Lissa wants a mic.
Obviously, she doesn't.
She doesn't even want a mic.
And we get letters of people being like, please don't give her one.
Yeah.
And I have to delete them before she sees them.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need... This is before...
Oh, wait, there is a little business. When does this come out?
The 11th.
Of May?
The 11th.
We're on...
Every
time we're on camera...
Yeah.
And or audio, right?
Yeah.
Although, like, come on, guys. YouTube, come hang out with us. Watch
just
the show.
YouTube it. See what we
like
wore.
and subscribe. And we go, hey, I always feel like I'm Arsenio Hall in that moment.
Yeah.
Because he would always talk to his producer, like, in the show.
In the show.
And I thought it was so cool.
It's relaxing.
I know.
Yeah. If this comes out May 11th, my main news is that Physical Season 2 drops June 3rd,
baby.
And Daniel Caniel is in that June 3rd. That's a Friday.
Yeah.
So just cuddle up to the weekend. Don't watch it right away. Watch it Friday night, 8 p.m. Put it on prime time like it's the old days.
Yeah, TGIF.
And watch Daniel Caniel in, and my memory maybe is off. Am I giving anything away with what you're wearing?
You can
Daniel is wearing a brown suit at night.
It's a lot of mustard and brown.
And here's the thing, I didn't even like mention that. I wasn't like, hey, whatever he wears, make sure it's a brown
the week
suit
of
at night.
we have pics that we'll drop the week of that we took together.
Yeah.
This letter was handed to me on the northeast coast of the Together Again tour. I'm reading it now.
That's the United States?
Yes.
Okay.
Dear sweet pen pals, my name is Jane.
Does that feel good?
And I am a day one paler, first time writer inner.
Wait, day one?
They've been listening every episode since we started.
Day one paler.
So they must have listened the first day it dropped. That's the only way that can work.
Who all lives in that category?
You think Shanley's a day one?
We don't know.
I bet you Emily. Whoa, I don't know if Emily Cox is a day one.
Is Shanley and Emily, are they day oneers? I don't know who day oneers are.
How would we know?
I would love to know.
I would love
handful.
to know too.
It's at most
Also,
5 people.
We just got Petronies.
And we're 2 of them.
Right? So now we're like, you know what we're essentially
Did
creating?
you see there was
we're
some,
creating a motorcycle club. And you have certain patches that say Penny, Paler, Day Oneer, Petroni.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I like patches. I like that a lot. Maybe we'll get some patches made.
And some vests, some denim vests. We'll look like goddamn Disney families walking around.
I just thought,
Say it.
Remind me after.
Well, you were gonna forget.
It was about the QR thing.
Okay.
I just thought of something about
You know what? Now that's a little tease.
That's a tease.
I know.
Yeah.
My name is Jane. I'm a day one paller, first time rider inner. I have been a huge fan of you both for many years. Daniel, so I got mentioned first. Going back to when he would channel Mark Wahlberg on DLM, Look Good, Feel Good, and Rory since his 2011 album, how do you say it?
Dilation?
Dilation. Every time.
Dilation.
Dilation.
Delicious.
Every time I think of a Southern pilot, I giggle. It's a lot of even-handed love.
I love that.
Anyway, I'm writing you two to get your take on unusual turn-ons. I'm not talking about fetish stuff or anything necessarily
never mind.
sexual. Rory's out.
I'm out.
More like things that attract you to a friend, partner, or just human in general that might be slightly different from normal things like green eyes or brown hair. For example, if you are left-handed, you are automatically more attractive in my book. If you have a lisp or a slightly lazy eye, I'm into it. People with noses that have clearly been broken at one point or fascinating scars? Yes,
Wow.
please. I have been told that I like a, quote, face that tells a story. I say unconventional beauty is my jam. What about you, lords? Proper. Do you
we have land.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you have any unusual turn-ons? I'd love to hear about them. I sincerely wish you well. Your pal, Jane Palotini. Do you think that's real?
I'm going to go ahead and say it is.
I am too. T.S. Daniel, I am the person who brought you baked goods and Reese's Pieces. That hurt my soul to type. Well, this is where I say F you.
And now I'm out.
On night one of your Philly stop. Okay, awesome. I remember this person. I have almost eaten, and by this point, I definitely have eaten all those Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
And I ate that pie. And there was chocolate cherry cookies.
And I am not doing well. I am actually in a physical state.
Okay.
That is, I got to say, that is so interesting.
Well, we see this in the real world. Like there are more often than not, we'll be honest. There are male celebrities
Yeah.
that in a lot of other contexts would be kind of marginalized down to like, oh, you're unattractive, but they have such an interesting face that they
Interesting,
become
yeah.
like big stars. I think of people like
Or they're
Javier Bardem or Adrian Brody, right? Just kind of like accentuated features or just kind of an interesting face.
Yeah.
Like it happens a lot more in celebrity. And so I think that this does happen.
Yeah.
Like Owen Wilson. Sometimes I think a broken nose on a
it's
guy or a
more-
girl can look very attractive.
I think it's more attractive when you, I think
not
for
the
the most
wounded part, but after it's whole,
Yeah.
like healed.
I think for the most part, you do have to keep in mind that almost everyone that you do see in terms of celebrity, that they are dolled up. The amount of people that are like, oh, that just natural beauty of how
Sure.
someone looks. Like if you eliminated the makeup from most people, that you see in like a movie or in a TV show or in an
we
interview
wear a ton of makeup for
on
this.
the red carpet
Right.
to go to the Oscars. Like
Right.
you're seeing someone in clothes that have been given to them to make them look great.
I remember when you did your
Hair and
first
makeup.
stylist, and you were like, "Oh, I should be wearing this."
Yeah.
and they're putting you in stuff,
Yeah.
and like you're like, "No, this jacket
Yeah,
is a
someone
jacket
puts
that
you in
fits
some
you."
clothes and you go, oh, that's what I look like in those clothes. It kind of changes you a little bit. You're like, oh, maybe I'll start buying clothes like this. But my point being, I think that more people who are labeled attractive celebrities actually do have a lot of those features that in some ways you sort of look past because you identify them as a celebrity. So you go, oh, well, that's Owen Wilson, so that's a good-looking man. Outside of context of fame, you maybe feel differently about what, and I know it sounds shallow, but you maybe do.
know.
I think the fact that, and also because you know his personality to an extent,
Right.
because you've gotten to know
It's
him.
all part of his character.
There's plenty of people that you've seen before that you maybe weren't necessarily attracted to. We've said this before. Then you get to know them, and then your physical attraction changes because of what you've gotten to know. I think there's a lot of celebrities that are like that, and I think the somewhat myth that a lot of celebrities, at least in the acting world, are like shallow people is not necessarily the case. I think a lot of people forget that everyone that is a celebrity in some field, and I mean even in politics, come from. The irony for me is that most politicians actually who are treated like those are real people fighting for us. A lot of them actually come from a class of people that actually aren't relevant or relatable to most people.
Right.
Whereas celebrities in film and television and music actually do come from, for the most part, a class of people who aren't born into money, who don't have these luxurious lives, who work their ways up into it. And I think sometimes people identify celebrity as going, well, there's a shallow group. I actually think it might actually be the other way around, with politicians being a little more shallow and disconnected from people than celebrities. And I think a part of that is because celebrities are in this field of having to look this certain way, getting dolled up all the time, and politicians aren't. So they go, oh, look, these guys are normal.
Right.
And so I feel this way about them and connected to them. And these people actually don't look like me because they're in these gowns and these suits and their makeup. They look this way, so I'm disconnected from them. And I actually think it's a weird psychological a thing that happens where we look more like celebrities that are all dolled up than we think.
Do you think that there are...
Does that make sense what I just said?
Yes, but also I think
made sense to
politicians they have to. That's their whole thing. They'll tell them like
They have to look like
can't
you.
dress like you can't go out looking like that. They won't relate to you anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But the funny thing is most people would love to have a night where they go out and dress like this is one of the reasons people go to Vegas.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm gonna wear that in Vegas.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they're like, I want to like get fancy and goofy.
Yeah.
But I bet you there are people who find Ellen Pompeo more attractive because of her lisp. And I actually I know
who is that?
Grey's Anatomy.
Okay. Yeah.
And then actually, I've seen, I either read an article or maybe it was in her book, but people are more attracted to Tina Fey because of her scar.
Interesting.
But but that might be a thing, and for some reason, it's like an endearment of like I don't know. I don't get into
story
the psychological
about it.
I don't know all that stuff about it. I mean,
I just think those imperfections are more common and actually what has created a sense of beauty in us more so than when you see someone who is without those flaws. I think when we spot someone who is without those flaws, I think we almost feel like we're seeing an alien.
yes.
And you're going, oh, this doesn't look normal. This actually looks, and even though someone may go, yes, but in the definition of perfection, this is perfection. And you go, yes, but perfection actually looks very abnormal and it looks very foreign and it looks so alien.
The first time I went to an audition where it was like fun, relatable Midwestern guy, right? And I'm like, great, I'm there. And then the other ones were like hot girl, hot guy. And so I'm in this like audition room with these three categories, and I'm looking at some of these people. You see them in LA every once in a while, and there's a lot of gorgeous people, but every once in a while you do see one of these like Angelina Jolie type, like or whatever, and you're like, I can't even figure out what angle to look at you
sense you. Yeah, I can't sense that you're actually even here.
Right.
And it's kind of crazy because I think a lot of people are like this. I don't necessarily find myself attracted to that. I don't
either.
I think it is these imperfections. I think this letter is very interesting because I don't know that I've ever actually really thought about it. Like, what does that mean? I think I've just always been an inherent thing. And I'm not saying for me. I think it's true of everyone. I bet most of our listeners right now are going, oh yeah, that's right. I'm actually.
But do you find yourself being
more attracted to the imperfections than something that is quote unquote perfect?
And I know this only applies to Jordan, right? You've never been attracted to anything. Like you almost stopped being like a carnal human person.
Even before I knew her, I was only attracted to her.
So do you find though that even for you, it's like features? Like I'm more attracted to softer features than striking features. Some people go the other way.
Yeah,
I'm as long as you're in a romper, I'm good.
I think a romper is all that matters. For me, I think it's. I think also like we forget that we're attracted to so many different types of personalities.
I know when people go, I have a type,
and
I'm like,
looks.
I have my type is you're fun.
My type
and
is,
confident.
do you want to sleep with me? And if they say yes, I go, then you're my type.
Do you know what though? Like, I've had the shaved head conversation with people, right?
Oh, right, sure.
And so that's sometimes like something people are attracted to.
Yeah.
But I've also been told that one of the reasons some people, men and women, are attracted to a shaved head is because they're like, you know what? That guy was probably like thinning, his hairline was thinning or whatever, and he just fucking owned it. Yeah. And so it's almost like that.
Which I think is the thing
confidence
to do.
Choice.
I always think that.
Yeah, is then that's the thing they're attracted. It is the exemplification of it.
Yeah. You know what's so funny is also like I don't when I look at you, I don't see a shaved head.
Really?
Because I don't think about it anymore. Like
Yeah.
once you get to know someone,
Sure.
you're sort of seeing less of the physical features. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're seeing their energy. You're seeing their your relationship to them,
Yeah.
who they are, and what they like.
Yeah.
You look at
But
me.
I-
This is
but
going to sound like a
actually-
joke, but you look at me and you see Rochelle and
God
and the
God,
cabin.
Yeah, God and Jesus
But
mixed
like
together.
I look at you, right, and I see my like great comedic friend, and I see Greenville, and I see Elliot, and
Or
I
you
see
just
like
you just see the interaction you're about to get.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
you just see like what the like you said energy. It's like I can see like what the vibe is. Like I'm not saying like I when I see you, I'm either reading very quickly if I think you're in a good mood or a bad mood. Do you know what I mean? I'm
and
not
it depends on whether it's morning,
but also
or
like
not.
getting to know each other. You know,
Yeah.
when I first met you, it's like, oh yeah, Daniel has a shaved head. Daniel has a shaved head.
Sure.
Daniel has a shaved head. And then at some point you're like, I don't even know.
Daniel. You're just like Daniel.
And then it's Daniel.
Right.
But like all those things make perfect, like it makes perfect sense. Like those things that you see. But I think that's what at no point, this is just us talking about the two of us, but at no point I was like, Daniel has a shaved head and I hate it. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're just going, if like truly someone would go, do you know Daniel has a shaved head? You would immediately go, let's say you're an awful person. You would go, oh, I didn't even notice. I just know he's a fucking piece of shit and I hate him. Like that's where your brain would go to that negative energy and go, actually, you know what? I even the other side of the spectrum, I actually forgot he had a shaved head because I just hate him so much. I don't even see him anymore.
I've had people say to me, you don't. They're like, yeah, I know you. I'm looking at you, but you don't feel like a shaved head guy. And I'm like, I'm right here.
Yeah.
But they do this other things too. Like,
But I think that's true though.
like people don't think of The Rock having a shaved head.
And it's true. You don't think about it.
Right. Michael Jordan having a shaved head.
But you know what's funny? Also, I don't think of The Rock and think about how strong and muscular he is either.
how can you not?
Well, I don't. I just because he's like The Rock, and you go, oh yeah, and I kind of know what I get from you. And the only time it would be jarring is if suddenly you were wildly out of shape. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it would
Yeah.
be jarring if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
came in
yeah.
here with the longest hair I'd ever seen. I would be like, Daniel. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there isn't
If
a
you
part
want,
of me that's
let's
thinking
do a
about
wig episode.
I'm into it. But I would never like even with the Rock, I think it's because it's like, yeah, he's strong. And you've noticed that for the past 20 years.
Right.
Are you still seeing that he's strong? I'm kind of like, no. You know what? That outfit looks good on him.
Yeah.
That's where my head is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool outfit. We get it. You have an energy drink. We got it. We got it. We got it. We got it.
But you know the guy who's in Braveheart, and then he's also in Sons of Anarchy.
Mel Gibson.
And he's forgive me for not knowing, he's Scottish or Irish, and he has that
Australian.
big scar like coming down.
I know what
his-
you're talking about. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
You wonder, like, there are people, I'm sure, is it Jane
Trying to
Palatini?
think of who.
Who looks at somebody like that, I was like, oh, that's so attractive that, like,
Yeah.
or like, forgive me, I feel horrible for only remembering his character's name, but Omar from The Wire.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, that was that. I mean,
Yeah.
And I think to a lot of people it was striking.
Right, yeah,
He
yeah.
almost had he had drama to his face.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
And I think for some people, I could see why
Yeah.
they'd be like,
And
I
his
find that
voice is such a
so
distinctive
attractive
voice, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
But she goes as far as left-handed. If you're
Yeah.
left-handed. She's
See, that's where it's interesting. It's more specific. Because I was going to say, even as you were reading that letter, I started like thinking you start putting yourself in the question. And I was even going, something that whenever I see people, there's a certain type of it. But when I see someone that is wildly confident, and there is
that's
too confident,
always.
there's annoying
No,
confident,
there's
but
sure.
there's this
Yes.
specific flavor of confident,
Like me.
and it's usually someone named Daniel, but there's a flavor of confidence, and they seem to genuinely be a very nice person, and to really have this awareness
Yeah.
of the room,
Yeah.
but yet still confident, like making jokes with strangers and all this stuff, and it blows me away every time, male or female. I
Yes.
find myself attracted to it, and I'll just be like, God, I'm so attracted to that energy of a
Rory,
thing, because
you
while
don't-
I do consider
on.
myself confident,
Yes.
but it's different. It's a different flavor where I can be confident once I've seen the room and I understand the room. I see some people walk into the room and not arrogantly be like, yeah, I'm in the room. But they're not going, hey, look at me, I'm in the room. They like walk into the room and you're just like, you feel it before they even talk. You're like,
Look.
this person over here.
You could call me crazy. I
do.
I
When
think
you're not
that,
around.
I think that of both of us.
But I know it of myself. I know what maybe someone is interpreting. But like, there are people, not that this is the specific type of confidence I'm talking about, but Jay Larson will throw a joke at literally anybody. And I mean, a joke that maybe they would go, what the fuck did you say to me? But he will do it, and I see them just gush over the fact that he has said this joke. And they don't know him. They don't recognize him. I've seen him say it to bartenders. I've heard him say to another golfer, like, yeah, you woke up and you went with that shirt, huh? And they were like, it's old, the shirt. Like, they're immediately with him as opposed to being, hey, stay out of my business. And they immediately like go for it. I'm like, I would never do it because my instinct would be, I want to make fun of this guy's shirt, but you know what? I don't know him. And maybe he turns around and is like, well, my wife just died. And I'm like, all right, well, sorry. Like, that's where my brain goes.
But do you think that has to do with the fact that Jay's never been punched? So he doesn't know.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't know. He doesn't know what the true fear actually is because no one's ever physically done it.
I hope he never gets punched. I don't want Tigger to lose that bounce.
I don't want it to. I 100%. That's a perfect way to say it. I don't want that to happen either. But you know what I mean? Like in terms of, sure, there are physical features. I think I don't want this to sound ironically shallow, but I think when you see someone that has those features,
sure,
it does feel like they're a real person. And you go, oh, well, you're a real person, because if you had none of those features, it almost seems like you're not a real person. And if there are people who are like, look, I was just born perfect and physically I look perfect.
Love you.
I'm not here to slam you. I'm just saying that.
But maybe
I think
get
for
a
the
hand
most
scar.
part, get a scar. But I think for the most part, it is people going, oh, you like a story with a face. I think unknowingly that's true of most people. You're actually attracted to someone who has this because if someone said to me in this example right now, talking about you, if someone said, well, here's Daniel, your friend that you know, and then here's Daniel where we have given him the most luscious, perfect head of hair, I would go, but that didn't do it. That didn't accomplish what someone's opinion of hair might be. We go, no, I have to have this certain type of hair. I would go, no, you actually ruined it because this is Daniel. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And because of that, you go, giving anyone like the perfect physique doesn't actually really do it all the time.
Right.
You know?
Anthony Michael Hall.
What?
Anthony Michael Hall got yoked, and people were like, I don't know. You were...
Carrot Top is yoked.
He's, big time. This is why I love that we have a Patreon, too.
Yeah.
Because I can't wait for people to be like, you know what I'm attracted to?
Yeah,
like, I want to hear
hit us up
what are your
Patreon.
odd, and they don't have to be sexual. It's not about that.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time for us, it is.
Yeah.
But this is
We're
not.
sex animals. That's how we live our life.
We all are.
This is a great letter, though.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Jane, look, you're just talking to a couple left-handers. I'm not trying to.
We just say that we are. Look, sure.
I am.
Right-hand dominant, but I am left-handed.
I am left-handed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this letter. Love that Unconventional Beauty is your jam. Can't wait to hear everybody else's what they're into as well. Thank you so much for the Reese's Pieces and for the cookies and the pie. It was wonderful. We wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Daniel Van Kirk
and Rory Van Scovel.
No, we don't have them.
Oh,
Okay, ready?